Happy Saturday. Today is July 4th, 2026.
Happy 4th.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, think about this. There is a software developer sitting in Silicon Valley using an AI assistant to write a piece of code.
Right.
But to generate that single line of code, a utility company had to fire up a natural gas plant.
Yeah.
And that plant relied on a shipment of liquid natural gas, which was really only available because a shipping container passed safely through the Strait of Hormuz like a few weeks ago.
It's all connected.
It is. Today we are looking at how typing a prompt into a computer is literally reshaping global geopolitics.
It is a profound structural transformation. I mean, we've spent the last few years looking at artificial intelligence as this, a software product.
Like a shiny toy almost.
Exactly, a shiny toy. But it has quietly morphed into something much bigger. It's really the new physical infrastructure of the global economy.
And that is exactly our mission for this deep dive today. We are looking at the July 4th, 6 a.m. news brief from the Daily Tech Reader.
A great brief today, by the way.
Really good. And if you're overwhelmed by the sheer volume of news right now, we're going to shortcut that for you. We're extracting the hidden narrative connecting today's top stories.
So you can see the bigger picture.
Right, to show you how everything from your local power grid to how you get hired to breakthroughs in cancer research is being driven by this massive transition of AI from that experimental toy into a foundational, incredibly power-hungry utility.
Because if we look at the defining theme of 2026 across all of these sectors, it really boils down to modernization and resilient capital investment.
Yeah?
The era of just playing around with AI to see what cool tricks it can do is over.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because to understand why we are suddenly relying on global shipping lanes to write software, we first have to look at what is happening inside the corporate world.
Yeah, the execution phase.
Exactly. The news brief is very clear here. Enterprise AI is now just standard business infrastructure.
Yeah.
We are firmly in that execution phase.
And what that means practically is that executives have stopped looking at AI through the lens of novelty.
They don't care if it's cool anymore.
No, not at all. They are now evaluating it strictly through the lens of measurable business outcomes. Like how does this improve efficiency? What is the operational reliability?
Right.
And most importantly, how does it impact operating costs?
I want to dig into that operating cost piece, actually.
Yeah.
Because the brief mentions that multimodal AI, systems handling text, audio, images simultaneously, and those AI coding assistants are now just completely standard across enterprise software.
Yeah, everybody has them.
But the companies building these foundation models are no longer just competing on who has the smartest or the flashiest AI. They are competing on efficiency.
Yeah.
Why the sudden shift to cost cutting?
Well, it's because of something called inference costs.
Okay.
When a company trains a massive AI model, that's a huge one-time expense. You buy the chips, you run the data, it's done.
Right.
But inference is what happens every single time an employee actually uses the model.
Like every time I type a prompt.
Every single time. Every time they send a prompt, generate an image, ask it to debug some code that requires physical computing power.
And if you have 50,000 employees using it 20 times a day, those inference costs just scale exponentially.
Exactly. It becomes a massive line item on a corporate spreadsheet. So the models are now competing to be lightweight and cheap to run because they have become a utility.
They're the plumbing.
They are the plumbing. The goal is to make them affordable enough to automate mundane, repetitive office workflows. Data entry, basic synthesis, routine code generation.
Which brings up a huge issue for the workforce, I think. Because a couple of years ago, we talked about AI like it was this unpredictable sports car.
Sure.
Now it's more like, I don't know, an automated air traffic control system for corporate data or a reliable corporate minivan. It's just routing thousands of mundane tasks.
That's a good way to put it.
But I have to push back here. If this system is automating all the entry-level work, what happens to the human workers? Like, if I'm a junior coder, this air traffic control system is doing my exact job. How am I supposed to learn the ropes? Doesn't this just turn knowledge workers into, like, assembly line monitors?
What's fascinating here is that the data from the sources suggests the exact opposite is happening.
Really?
Yeah. Yes, the entry-level tasks are being automated, but that shift is what ultimately frees up human capital for higher-level problem solving.
But how do you get to that higher level if you can't practice on the basics?
That is the friction point right there. And it's
Yeah.
exactly why the brief highlights a massive expansion in skills-based hiring in 2026.
Oh, interesting.
Companies are realizing they can't just hire someone to do data entry anymore. They need human oversight. The competitive advantage for you as a worker today isn't necessarily holding a specific traditional degree.
It's continuous learning.
Yes, continuous learning is everything, meaning your value isn't generating the raw output anymore.
Right, the AI does the raw output.
Precisely. Your value is in guiding, managing, and overseeing that output. You are the pilot monitoring that automated air traffic control system you mentioned.
So you have to know what good looks like.
You have to understand the business context well enough to know if the AI's output is actually helping achieve those measurable outcomes we talked about. Human oversight remains completely essential.
That is such a critical takeaway if you are listening to this and trying to future-proof your career right now. The goal isn't just to learn how to build AI.
No, not at all.
It's to understand how to manage it and verify its work. But this brings us to a massive physical problem.
An energy piece.
Yes. We're talking about millions of workers running inference on these models all day long. That invisible cloud software requires physical servers. And those servers run hot.
Incredibly hot. The thermodynamics of artificial intelligence is fundamentally different from traditional computing.
Explain that mechanism, because I think a lot of people just assume a data center is a data center. Why is an AI data center so much more demanding?
Well, traditional cloud computing is mostly just storing and retrieving data.
Fetching an email or whatever.
Right. It takes a little bit of power. But AI computing, specifically running these massive foundation models, requires thousands of advanced microchips working at maximum capacity simultaneously to calculate probabilities.
Wow.
And doing that generates a tremendous amount of physical heat. You can't just blow air over them anymore. You have to use liquid cooling.
Which means we need water. A lot of it.
Yes. Millions of gallons. And the news brief points out a direct collision happening right now. European heat waves are currently stressing their infrastructure and their agriculture.
I saw that.
When an AI data center needs that much water for cooling, it is suddenly competing directly with local farmers who need that exact same water for their crops during a severe drought.
That is wild. We are literally watching the digital economy compete with the physical food supply.
We are.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. It reminds me of the giant coal-guzzling factories of the Industrial Revolution.
That's a great analogy.
But it's not just water, it's the electricity itself. The brief notes that these AI data centers are actively reshaping long-term utility planning. Utility companies here in the U.S. are struggling to manage elevated electricity demand just to keep people's air conditioning running during prolonged summer heat waves.
It's a huge strain.
How on earth do we balance this insatiable rising electricity demand for AI with the fact that utility companies can barely keep the lights on during these heat waves?
It's the defining friction point of our current economy. We have this insatiable digital ambition slamming into higher physical limits.
Yeah.
This is why the sources emphasize that infrastructure spending continues defining investment priorities. We are essentially having to reindustrialize the grid.
Meaning we have to pour concrete and lay copper wire just so we can send a software prompt.
Exactly.
But how do you actually power a facility that requires that much continuous electricity? I mean, you can't just put a few solar panels on the roof of a data center and call it a day.
No, you definitely can't. And this introduces the concept of baseload power.
Okay, what is that?
Solar and wind are fantastic, and we are seeing massive investments in renewable energy and battery storage deployment to capture that energy. But renewables are intermittent.
The wind stops blowing, the sun goes down.
Exactly. An AI data center cannot ever turn off. It requires constant, uninterrupted power 24/7. That is baseload power.
Which is why the brief specifically mentions renewed policy attention on nuclear energy.
Exactly. Nuclear provides massive, reliable, zero-carbon baseload power.
But building a nuclear plant takes a decade or more.
Right. It's not a quick fix.
So what is bridging the gap right now? If we need constant baseload power today to run these models, and nuclear is 10 years out, and renewables are intermittent, we have to be burning natural gas.
We are. Natural gas is the critical bridge fuel keeping the AI revolution online right now.
But wait, natural gas isn't just sitting in our backyard ready to go. A huge portion of it relies on global shipping, specifically liquid natural gas.
Yes, LNG.
Doesn't that mean our domestic tech infrastructure is suddenly at the mercy of foreign navies and global supply chains?
It absolutely does. You cannot separate technology policy from foreign policy anymore.
Wow.
The digital brain needs a strong physical body, and that physical body relies on global energy markets.
Which perfectly explains the international section of today's news brief. It mentions that Middle East diplomacy is actively supporting stable global energy markets.
Yeah.
Specifically, it notes that commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz remains uninterrupted, and that waterway is a massive choke point for global oil and liquid natural gas.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you start to see why something like the U.S.-Iran peace talks, which the Daily Tech Reader noted as a major development back in May 2026, is so vital to the tech sector.
It's not just about traditional diplomacy anymore. It's about keeping the servers on.
Exactly. If there is a disruption in the Strait of Hormuz, global energy prices spike.
Right.
If natural gas prices spike, data center electricity costs skyrocket. And suddenly those enterprise AI models we talked about, they become too expensive for American businesses to run.
The inference costs go through the roof.
Exactly. The entire economic transition stalls.
So what does this all mean? It's just a staggering realization, this domino effect. The ability of a junior analyst in Chicago to cheaply summarize a PDF using AI is being actively subsidized by diplomatic stability in the Middle East.
It's incredible when you trace it all the way back.
And the brief also touches on other geopolitical hotspots. We have Ukraine and Russia continuing long-range military operations, and NATO actively monitoring European security developments. Obviously, we are just impartially reporting what the sources say here about how these facts impact the markets, but the geopolitical tension is incredibly high.
It is. Yet despite those tensions, the sources point out that global supply chains and manufacturing investments remain highly resilient.
Which is surprising.
It is, but oil-producing nations are monitoring demand very closely, and energy markets remain balanced.
But that resilience takes an unbelievable amount of effort.
Yeah.
Democratic governments are having to navigate these massive geopolitical transitions just to maintain uninterrupted global trade routes.
It's a full-time job for these nations.
It's like a high-wire act. We are restructuring domestic power grids, competing with agriculture for water, and relying on incredibly fragile global shipping lanes just to fuel this technology.
It is a massive allocation of human and capital resources. Technology competition is the defining strategic theme globally. You just can't compete in AI if you can't guarantee the energy to keep the servers running.
Which brings me to the ultimate question. If we are literally restructuring global energy markets and walking a geopolitical tightrope just to run these data centers, what is the ROI?
The return on investment.
Yeah, what is the actual payoff for humanity that makes all this risk worth it?
That is the most important question to ask. And the science and health sections of today's brief provide a very clear answer. We are basically entering a scientific renaissance.
The breakthroughs listed today are incredible. We're seeing AI-assisted diagnostics, seeing broader adoption in hospitals.
Right.
Precision medicine is receiving heavy investment. AI-assisted drug discovery is actually advancing.
Let's look at the mechanics of that drug discovery for a second, because it ties directly into those massive computing costs we discussed.
Okay, how so?
Historically, finding a new pharmaceutical compound took years of physical trial and error in a wet lab, mixing chemicals, testing them, failing.
Very slow.
Incredibly slow. Today, AI can simulate millions of molecular interactions in a matter of hours.
But to do that, you need the massive, power-hungry data centers.
Exactly. You trade physical lab time for intense computational power, and the results are materializing. The brief reports steady progress in cancer research, with genomics advancing personalized medicine.
Wow.
We are moving from theoretical algorithms to practical, life-saving applications.
And it extends well beyond healthcare. The space sector is thriving right now, too.
Oh, absolutely.
NASA is deep into Artemis mission preparations, and there's ongoing planning for Mars exploration.
Space exploration is essentially a massive logistics and materials science problem.
Right. The math is mind-boggling.
Planning a mission to Mars requires analyzing billions of variables, from orbital mechanics to the life support systems. AI's ability to process and optimize those variables is what makes these timelines feasible.
That makes total sense.
We are also seeing expanding climate monitoring satellite programs. They use AI to model weather patterns and optimize agricultural yields.
Which is ironically trying to solve the very resource problems that data centers are exacerbating with the water usage.
It is a fascinating loop, isn't it?
It really is. But here is the observation that really sticks with me today, looking at this July 4th snapshot of the world. We have this beautiful, almost poetic duality to human life right now.
How do you mean?
Well, on one side of the coin, we are using liquid-cooled supercomputers to rewrite human genomics and plan the logistics of putting boots on Mars.
Right.
On the other side, culturally, people are craving completely traditional experiences.
Oh, the cultural anchors haven't changed at all.
Not at all. According to the brief, the biggest story in the world today isn't a new breakthrough in precision medicine.
No, it's sport.
It's a World Cup knockout football. Millions of people are tuning in to watch human beings run around a grass field. Live entertainment is maintaining healthy attendance.
Yeah.
And today, communities across the United States are just gathering to watch parades, eat a hot dog, and look at fireworks. We have all this staggering, invisible technology running the world, and people are perfectly content to just sit outside and yell at a soccer match.
It highlights a core thesis of the news brief. Innovation and tradition are not mutually exclusive.
They advance together.
They advance together. If we look closely at the ultimate goal of this relentless technology competition, the grid modernization, the supply chain resilience, the massive capital investment, it isn't just to build a faster computer for the sake of having a faster computer.
It's about improving the human condition.
Yes. It is about increasing human longevity through preventive healthcare and remote patient monitoring.
Giving us more time.
Giving us more time. It's about optimizing those mundane office workflows so that we have the freedom to engage in continuous learning. Ultimately, the promise of this massive infrastructure overhaul is that it frees up our time, our health, and our resources to actually enjoy the culture, the sports, the art, and the community gatherings that make us human.
That brings it all full circle perfectly.
Yeah.
When we started this deep dive, we promised to find the hidden narrative in a simple Saturday morning news brief.
And we found it.
We did. We found that AI is no longer a software product you buy. It is the invisible plumbing of the daily economy. It dictates how businesses hire and operate.
It's foundational.
It is so massive that it is literally forcing an overhaul of the physical energy grid. It requires us to navigate complex global diplomacy just to keep it fueled.
Huh.
But the return on that massive investment is a breathtaking new era of medical and scientific discovery.
Understanding this interconnected, how a line of code relies on a local power grid, which relies on global shipping, which ultimately funds cancer research, is the absolute best way for you to remain well-informed in 2026.
It really is the shortcut to understanding how the modern world actually functions.
Mm-hmm.
But before we go, we always like to leave you with a final thought.
Something to chew on.
Exactly, something to chew on that builds on everything we've discussed today.
And looking through the source material, there is a fascinating, unexplored nugget from a trending story listed back on June 1st.
Oh, what was that?
The headline reads, Florida becomes first state to sue OpenAI over ChatGPT safety failures.
Oh, wow. Wait, really? That opens a whole new can of worms.
It really does. It raises an incredibly important question for you to consider. Throughout this deep dive, we have established that enterprise AI has become essential foundational infrastructure.
Right.
It is no different mechanically than the electrical grid, the water supply, or the highway system. But think about how we handle liability for physical infrastructure. If a power company's electricity is used by a criminal to run a cyber attack, the power company isn't the one being sued.
Right, you blame the criminal.
If someone speeds on a highway and causes a crash, we don't sue the asphalt.
No, we hold the individual driver responsible.
Yeah, exactly. But if AI is the new infrastructure of the modern economy, who is responsible when that infrastructure inherently causes harm, generates false medical information, or fails on a safety level?
Man, that is tough.
As this technology becomes embedded in everything from software development to medical diagnostics, the liability of artificial intelligence is going to be a massive legal and philosophical battleground. How do we regulate a utility that could actually think?
That is a heavy, fascinating question to leave you with as you head out into the holiday weekend. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today.
It was a great discussion.
It really was. Keep questioning the world around you, keep looking for those hidden connections, and as you watch those fireworks light up the sky tonight, take a second to think about the massive, invisible shifts happening right beneath the surface to make it all possible. Stay curious, and we'll catch you on the next one.